basically what this all breaks down to is we all have different stuff that we like to do, different stuff that we like to focus on, different ways we like to work on stuff and all that, right? For me, I genuinely like figuring stuff out and making stuff. Period. I've been that way my whole life. I would rather write a song than learn how to play a cover. Period. I would rather, learn a chord or a technique and have it build over time compared to, learning how to play stuff perfectly. That's not for me. It's never been for me, right? Now, there's plenty of people that would rather do it where they know how to do everything and everything else and have all the knowledge before they step in. And that's not the way that I am built. Um, my brother has been playing tabletop role playing games for a long time. He really enjoys them. Now, I played them with him, of course, and I found out through that, and I've been in it more and more lately, that, and he even knows this, I'm not a big fan of playing. I like making, I like the creative aspect of that only. Um, to be completely honest with you, that's the only part of those kind of games that I did. It's not the setting. It's not. I don't want to pretend to be back there or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Um, and a lot of that might just be the settings and everything else. If it was different, maybe it would be a little bit different, or if it was a different kind of gameplay or something, right? But I have made one system already, and I have another one in the works for those kind of games, and I actually really like making those systems. So, sorry, dog's going nuts, but I did really like making those systems, and I do like those games, but not everyone's gonna be like, hey, I just like the creative aspect. I like the problem solving. I like being able to come up with it, troubleshooting and all that. I love that stuff personally. I like it. But I know that's also what scares a lot of people off from doing it in the first place. And a lot of people just want to mimic what other people do, and that's fine. You want to make something similar to something else. There's nothing wrong with that at all, right? But no, everyone's not like that. Period. You know what I'm saying? So we all have our own strengths, we all have our own weaknesses, and we all have ways that we like to approach things. Now, with me in my life, when I've jumped into things, right? I've never known what I was doing. First job I had, I was 12 years old. I worked for a kids radio station named Radio Oz. It was aimed at children, and I ended up becoming their entertainment reporter. Right, so they hired a bunch of kids. I pulled a speech out of my ass. I took a chance. I didn't know what I was doing. So, what's up, James? I've been a musician off and on for I'm 40, what, 24, 26 years. What's up, gamer? But I started and ran a magazine all by myself, a music magazine based on punk and all that, not knowing what I was doing at all, like no clue. And it actually worked out for quite a while. I did that for a few years. I've been a stand-up comic as well and everything else. And I know for me, I like to jump into things. I like to figure it out as I go and not know all the rules because I'm not trying to break the rules when I go in. But if I don't know the rules, I can set my own and do what works for me and not what works for everyone else. Now, like I said, not everyone is wired to be like that. Not doing those jokes, man. But like I said, we all get our own way a lot. I got in my own way for a lot of years, and I didn't even realize it. I'm sure it happens to everyone else in here too. For me, what it was I thought, okay, I'm gonna do this big project and everything else. You know what I'm saying? Just everything can become jumbled in your head sometimes when you're working on something. You think, okay, I have to get this done to this standard my first time out when I've never done anything before. You know what I'm saying? All right. Give me 1 second, guys. There we go. But like I said, for me, I the kind of guy that needs to jump in. Not everyone needs to be that way. A lot of people I know need to study and have some kind of idea of what they're doing. You know what I mean? When I did the magazine, this was a long time ago now. Let me think, like 17 years ago, I started it. And what's up, GTA? But when I started that one like 15 years ago, I think I started it on MySpace. May have been the original. Then I moved over to Facebook. With Facebook, it's not like it is now, but I made a page for it and I added who I could, right? I found people in bands from all over the world and tried to add them. I already had an interview with a band that I knew from out here, actually a few. And like I said, I had no idea what I was doing, but I did those interviews and basically I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to get music out there, bands heard. That was it. It was that simple. So in the interviews, the questions were always the exact same. There might be a few more thrown in here and there, but overall, it was always the exact same questions because I knew what I wanted it to do. I'd find out about other bands I could interview, listen to, all that from different states and all over the world. So, because of that, it made things easy. You know what I'm saying? And nobody really got mad about it because they knew what I was doing. The questions were always that or about what would you tell somebody about starting their first band or anything like that. You get what I'm saying? So it was all leaning towards, this one thing, this one reason. And that's why I think it worked out. It's not necessarily that I knew what I was doing, it's that I knew what I wanted the end result to kind of be, and that's it. I didn't know how to get there, but it got there. You know what I mean? And this is back in the day when you could only have 5,000 people added on Facebook, right? So it was 5,000. I reached out in like a week because one thing with music, and I've said this a lot of times, people don't believe me. Music is the easiest thing to do or talk about or anything. As far as getting reach, if you're a musician, you can probably get a show somewhere at some point, right? It just is what it is. But with that, because people are musicians and stuff all over the world, and people that play this stuff like to hear other people that play this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how that worked. When I did stand up, I didn't know what I was doing, but I was in a situation where my mental health wasn't the best, and I felt like I couldn't talk where I was at, so I went, did it, and then I did it too long, but I did it for like 6 years, right? And it's important to try things out sometimes too. But if you are telling yourself it's done, no, it's done, right? Don't overstay your welcome with something because it can make you miserable. And I'm saying this from experience. Because when I was doing stand up, I probably should have stopped after 2 years, but I did 6. And the reason that it was bad for me, and I'm not saying stand up is bad for everybody, but this is what kind of helped show me how I'm wired, right? Is I liked the writing aspect. I like being up there and pulling stuff out of my ass, jokes and all that. And I've met a lot of comics that can't do that or won't do that, and they need every word written and practiced, right? I'm not a written and practiced guy. I'd write the jokes, but I'd do them in different orders. I'd have them in cards, switch up the orders and everything else, right? So there's some people that can do the repetitive stuff and all that. I'm not one of those kind of guys, personally. And there's a lot of people that I know that are artistic that aren't that way too. You know what I mean? So hopefully all that makes sense. But like I said, just lean into how you are. For me, I'd help somebody make a tabletop role playing game before I would play one of the major systems out. Now, I'm not against all major systems and all that, but I know what I like to do more often, right? But also know that you can use things as tools to write stories and stuff like that too, and that's not a bad thing. A lot of people use tools to help them get to their end goal. I've done that a lot of times. There's nothing wrong with using tools like on the old channel, I wrote the outline of a story using a tabletop role playing game, right? For to add in some chance and all that, and it actually worked out well, right? Because I wasn't positive what was going to happen, but knowing that creativity is only asking and answering questions, the rolling of the dice made it easier. It set up questions to ask and answer, and that's the way that I do my best writing, and that's not everybody. I'm not saying with the game, but where one thing causes other choices, right? But since we all look at the world differently and all that, we're gonna have different ways that we need things done. Like my brother, he's a very creative guy. My all my friends are really creative people, but we don't approach things the same way. Um, there's a guy I've been making music with off and on for over a decade, right? And how he writes music and how I write music is completely different. All right, man, take it easy. But are completely different. With me, 99.9% of the time, there's no planning. Um, there's been one or two where I've just been messing around and it sticks and it becomes something over time because I just use it to kind of practice, right? And then somebody's like, hey, we should use that, and then I'll write around it or whatever. But usually it's give me a drum beat, I'll come up with something to match that tempo, or I'll play something real quick and have the drummer start playing, and we'll just start nailing and run into it, right? And do it that way. But when he's writing stuff, he usually has stuff already written and brings it, right? So he plays guitar as well and bass. So if he writes something on that, he brings the whole thing basically. You know what I'm saying? For those, I'm on drums. I'm an okay drummer, but with that, I have to take a little bit of a different approach too, because I am new to it and I kind of play like a guitar player. So I don't even have the same approach on a drum set that someone else might have. You know what I'm saying? And that's not a bad thing. There's a lot of people that have just completely different approaches. So a lot of these people saying, well, one size fits all. One size really fits none at the end of the day. It might fit them, but it might not fit anyone else. So I can't tell you how to do things. You know, I all I can say is there's plenty of different ways to do things, and there's no correct way with this artistic stuff. Period. We like to pretend that there's a right way. There's not. There never has been. Just do what you want to do. Create something, right? And you might want to spend a year on it. You might want to spend 2 seconds on it. But both can be just as good as the other one. You know what I mean?